Chapter 2 Kidnapping Spree. He stands there, pondering. It's been almost an hour. Maou closes his eyes. There is no heating and the ice-cold wall pressed against his back. With such indifference to the cold, it's as if he were a monk who had suppressed all sensation from the outside world. Maou already has a plan. When the plan is carried out, a crime of historical proportions will be brought upon this very city. However, the time is still not right. All the preparations have been made. All that remained was to simply await the perfect moment. It is, to use a cliché, like the calm before the storm. Are there any loose ends left to be neatly tied together? Did he miss anything during the planning phase? He pondered this over and over. He always arrived at the same answer. There is nothing left to do. Right now, his best course of action is to lay low. Usami Haru. If there is any unknown factor in the plan, it's her. Maou used a detective agency to check up on Usami Haru. The long-haired girl is quite different from normal high school students. He had experienced her incredible intelligence firsthand. The detectives had searched her personal contacts and background as well. In the process, they uncovered that Usami Haru had another side to her. However, it's not something that could threaten Mao's plans. What need is there to fear her? There are plenty of other people who also hold a grudge against Maou. He heard the sound of the elevator moving. Sumer bowed deeply. A hint of sweat rolled down his forehead as he stood up straight. He stared at Sumer's red face. He spoke to him with his eyes. It was not a meeting, but a party, wasn't it? I also did my homework about you, about how much you love that liquor. Sumer breathed out words drenched in the smell of alcohol. The conversation immediately switched gears. Sumer is now quite submissive to Maou. Seeing him soundly defeat even the genius from Boston apparently left quite the impact on him. Sumer doesn't know anything about Maou. Name, age, history, all of his information had been fabricated. But in some businesses, it's better not to know your partner's true nature. After all, it's easier to escape the law that way if it happened to come to that. Sumer tried to be understanding. Mao's biggest contribution to the Sano Corporation was the smuggling of firearms. Since before the war, the nation's firearm industry was monopolized by a single company. Mao's prowess is what helped break this monopoly on the Japanese firearms market. The Japanese tax on imports was harsh, but Maou saw a weak point in the low tax on exports. By establishing a base in the ports of Niigata and Fukuoka, and by forming ties with miscreant foreigners who had past experience in doing business with organized crime groups, he formed a route between North Korea and Hong Kong. There were a number of huge risks involved. He knew the country's crisis management was something not to be underestimated. But regardless of how powerful his enemy may be, it was something he had to do. They finished talking about business. They covered topics like how to cover up the weapons, the method in which to smuggle them, which people they need to win over to their side. Everything had been taken care of. Sumer finally relaxed. The alcohol must have been wearing off. Sumer looked a little tense. That look in his eye is not bad at all, he thought. From the very beginning, Maou had never taken Sumer lightly. True, he did think he was easy to manipulate, but not to the point where he would hold contempt for him. When Sumeya ascended to the position of Director of Senior Management for the Sano Corporation, he took the organization in a whole new direction. As part of a policy of rapid expansion, the company invested most of its proceeds into new and different ventures. Of course, since the new plan involved giving lower priority to employee bonuses, there was no shortage of opposition to it. But all of this, even working with Maou and expanding into a legal business, was all for the sake of the company.
私の父は戦中派の人間でね。この会社のために懸命に働き、骨をうずめていった。私は父が大きくした会社を守っていかねばならないんだよ。
ご立派な志です。
He said that sincerely. Even though people call him Maou, Maou never actually thought of himself as some sort of overbearing existence. He knew that Sumeya, being over 30 years older than himself, no doubt had certain capabilities with which he himself could not compare.
夢などありません。
謙遜するな。君の目は戦いを前にした父の目に似ている。大きな志を持った男の目だ。
夢などありません。本当です。
He said this absolutely. Sumeya lowered his head. The man seemed to be trying to hide his disappointment.
まあいい。何にせよ、金で動かない人間は扱いが難しい。
何かお困りのようですね。
鋭いな、君は。なに、東区の用地買収がね、思うように進んでないんだ。
土地を手放したくない人間がいるんですね。
相場の2倍の金を出すと言っても聞いてくれない。あまりに困ったんで、プロを雇うことにしたよ。
Probably specialists in organized violence. So Sumeya likes these brute methods too. Nowadays, though, land sharks can't use the same kinds of violent methods they did back during the bubble. It's understandable that he'd have trouble making a settlement.
あと、たったの一区画なんだがね。
Sumeya took out his notebook. Addresses and blueprints were scattered throughout the pages. He flipped to a page which listed the families unwilling to move out.
いずれにせよ、私には関係のない話です。
Maou flung his hand to cast away the request.
これはすまなかった。君の手を煩わせるつもりはない。
染谷室長が手を煩わせるほどのことでもないでしょう。
Indeed, it would be more appropriate for a section chief at a subsidiary company to be worrying like this over this matter. He was well aware of how much effort the Sano Corporation had invested in the Eastern District recreational project. Still, Sumeya was the director of senior management at corporate headquarters. It would be hard to swallow that this project was so important to him. Certainly, there was more to the story.
国土交通省の方とお会いになっているそうですね。
The dot? What's that?
君にはかなわんな。そう、株だよ。
Insider trading. Indeed, if this project proceeds successfully, the value of the stock would skyrocket, and fast. Sumeya obviously passed on some information to bribe the official. Just then, Maou picked out a name from Sumeya's notebook.
三輪椿。
Oh shit. He closed his eyes. Miwa Tsubaki. Where had he heard this name before?
どうかしたのかね。
いえ、
気分が悪そうだが。
It seems like the name is familiar to him. Why is that? Oh yes. She is an acquaintance of Usami Haru.
この三輪椿という少女は自由ヶ崎学園に通っているのでは。
知り合いかね。
Maou chuckled. What should he do with his free time before the storm? The answer to the object of his caseless pondering had come together in an instant. He could use Tsubaki to corner Usami Haru, forcing her to submit.
染谷室長、私に任せていただきたい。
Sumeya caught his breath.
どういう風の吹き回しだ。
南米のテロリストの話です。旅客機の中にテロリストが狙う要人がいました。テロリストは要人を殺害するだけでは気が済まなかった。何の罪もない旅客を巻き添えにして飛行機を墜落させました。
Mao's lips twisted into a frown. Negative emotions stirred within him. Emotions he could not suppress. Just as Maou had said, he does not have a dream himself.
私の心にあるのはただ一つです。
さっきから何を言ってるんだ。
すべてお任せください。
Mao turned away from Somea. His whole body trembled. There was one thing, one emotion able to force Mao into action. Revenge. Only revenge. He wants to take revenge? Why? In the end, I never went to Tsubaki's house yesterday. Well, I'll just have to go some other time. I had to leave Tsubaki due to an emergency.
おはよう、浅井くん。
No, I'm terribly sorry about yesterday. Tsubaki, unaware of the conflicting thoughts inside me, gave her usual smile. Do you think I could come over to your house and hang out sometime soon?
どうして急に？
So, does that mean I can't?
いや、いいけど。
What's up? It's unusual for you to appear so flustered.
ちょっと恥ずかしかったから。
Embarrassed?
うちってちょっと特殊だから。
Little Lord. Oh, now I really want to go. How about today? I smiled and moved closer to her.
いや、うちに来るっていうことは、お父さんにも紹介しなきゃいけないよ。
So what? It's not like I'm asking for your hand in marriage.
でも、お父さんとか勘違いして舞い上がっちゃうよ。何困ってるの、椿ちゃん。
Eiichi made an appearance out of nowhere.
いや、浅井くんがうちに来たいって。ダメなの？ダメじゃないけど、恥ずかしいなって。じゃあ、僕も一緒に行ってあげるよ。
What? Look, kid, I don't need a tag along.
じゃあ自分も一緒に。
Don't butt anywhere you aren't welcome. Why did the two of you suddenly pop up anyway?
ただ自分あれなんすよね。今日はちょっとだけバイトなんで少し遅くなるかもしれません。僕もペットに餌あげてから行くね。あ、じゃあ一緒に行きましょう、絵手吉さん。いいよ。駅で待ち合わせしない？
Tsubaki raised her head.
みんな一緒ならいいかな。やったわ。
Well, whatever. I made a few phone calls between classes. I needed to discuss the Miwa family. I was getting some heat for being too slow with my work. Oh, hello. Yes, this is Kioske. Please go there tonight again. Yes, under no circumstances are you to get too rough. Is that understood? I called the company and asked them to send some people over to Tsubaki's house tonight. I need to go check out the place too. There must be a reason they're not selling. The whole eastern district is a rural area. Indeed, the property value there has risen tremendously due to everyone's attention on the upcoming ski resort, but it's still nowhere near the value of downtown property. They must have a lot of guts to turn down an offer several times higher than the property's worth. My job is to uncover the reason behind their persistent refusal, and then destroy that reason little by little. I suddenly spotted Shiratori with the corner of my eye. Hey! She barely even looked at me. A couple of us are going to Tsubaki's house tonight. You want to come too?
遠慮しておくわ。
Don't say that. It would be fun to have a little get-together. We're going to have a big nabe party as a family. Come on, what do you say?
授業始まるわよ。
She turned around to leave. Hey, hold on a second. Why do you hate me so much?
あなた、自分がどういう人間なのか自覚していないのね。
What kind of person I am?
あなたの裏の顔を知ったら、一緒に鍋パーティーなんてしたがるかしら。
Don't be like that. You want to make everyone leave me by telling them about my true self?
あなたは本当に友達を友達として見てるの？
God, this girl just doesn't quit. Let me ask you something, Shiratori. Have I wronged you in some way? Perhaps I do have a dark side, one that I wish to hide. Does that affect you negatively in any way? Of course it doesn't. Shiratori is just afraid of me. It's not like I'm going to eat you. Let's be friends, okay? I reached out my hand courteously.
いや、
Absolute rejection. Even her back was visibly angry. Jeez, what the hell did I do wrong? By the time class ended, the sun had already started to set.
本当にうちに来るんだよね。
Are you that against it?
うーん
After we walked out the school gate, Tsubaki kept mumbling to herself.
今日は浅井くんがお家に来ます。驚きの一日になりそうです。
Did you call your parents?
さっき学園の公衆電話で。
Did they say anything?
すごい嬉しそうだった。お父さんがお母さんに赤飯を炊けとか言ってた。
What kind of family is that? There were many things I wanted to ask about Tsubaki's father. What does your dad do for a living?
いつも畑にいるよ。
Oh, he grows vegetables?
リンゴとか。
Oh, this is the first time I've heard about this. Has he always been a farmer?
おじいちゃんもひいおじいちゃんもずっとやってたんだって。
The man runs an apple orchard. I was wondering why this particular piece of land was so big. It's a whole field of apple trees. I get the feeling we'll have to compensate them for each individual apple tree when they move out. We might even end up having to arrange for them to get substitute farmland. Yet even though all of this would certainly raise the compensation costs, I can't imagine it would sum up to match the value they were already offered. Thus, the reason they won't move is... I see, so this land has been in your family for generations.
お父さんもお母さんも愛着あるみたいなんだ。
They simply don't want to move from the place they're comfortable with. A very simple and very obvious reason.
でも最近ね、引っ越してくださいって言われてるみたいなんだ。
A very sticky situation indeed. This isn't an issue of money.
お父さんは断固拒否してるんだけどね。営業の人もなかなか諦めないみたいで。
Seems like you're in a bit of trouble. Perhaps I can help you with this.
浅井くんが？
Didn't I tell you that I work for my dad? I know a few professional surveyors and asset managers.
ほんと？すごいな、浅井くんは。頼りになるな。
Tsubaki's face blushed brightly like an apple. Also, let me talk a bit with your dad.
私からもお願いするよ。お父さんも土地とか権利とか難しい話はよくわからないらしくて困ってるの。
It'd be great if I could help out. I smiled brightly. A highly calculated smile.
ここだよ。
We rode the subway all the way to the Eastern District. Tumanbetsu city is divided into 9 districts. The Eastern District is the most rural one. The whole place is farms and greenhouses as far as the eye can see. But on the road, huge freight trucks and excavators busily and mercilessly worked to clear the land. The development is progressing. Are Eiichi and Usami going to be coming?
お家の住所は教えておいてよ。
I wonder what they're here to do.
みんな一緒の方が楽しいよ。
Forget Eiichi for a second. Usami's presence is the one that kind of bothers me. In that case, let's go in.
ちょっと待って。
Tsubaki stopped me.
H 君と宇佐美さんが来るのを待ってからにしない？
Huh? But didn't they say they'd be late?
それまでどこかで時間を潰してればいいんじゃないかな。
Where?
公園とか。
And do what?
ブランコ。
Are you serious?
滑り台でもいいよ。
Come on now.
ごめん、かくれんぼの方が良かった？
This is ridiculous. Do you only play kids games?
ゲームとかもするんだよ。
Awesome. Alright, sounds good to me. And to do that, we need to get inside. So let me in already.
ちょっと待って。
No matter how you look at it, she clearly doesn't want me to visit her home.
浅井くんに迷惑かかるよ。
And playing hide and seek outside in the winter cold won't be a headache?
だって勘違いされちゃうよ。
Misunderstood? How?
うちの家族の勢いすごいから。
I don't really understand what you're getting at.
みんなで一斉に勘違いされちゃうよ。
Oh, for God's sake. I pushed Tsubaki aside and crossed the house's threshold.
わかったよ、わかったから。せめていいよって言うまで待ってよ。
Alright. What are you trying to hide?
じゃあ待っててね。着替えてくるから。
Tsubaki hurried inside. I waited a bit. No, I waited a lot. You can come in now. Tsubaki's voice finally came from inside the house. Thanks. Upon entering, an uproar of voices immediately greeted me. Next time on G-senjou no Maou. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Bye bye.